Sports reporter Justin Page is in America's finest city with more. Much like the bricks here at Yo Field, the players have built upon each other to create a mighty wall. And the Tigers are looking to introduce themselves versus Lufkin tonight. This is the headline in tomorrow's Navasota Examiner, State Champs. Hope Santa brings them some answers to their problems on offense. Every time Ryan tees off, he has the potential to help his charity. The Cowboys are America's team, but the Houston Texans have some of America's favorite players. Coach Lee Fedora and company were out to answer that question last night at Merrill Green Stadium down in Bryan. But it's more than just adrenaline that'll help you win in this game. It's also about teamwork, like any other sport. Aggie football players can expect something just a bit different during their first SEC road trip, and is now preparing for this month's NBA draft. It's summer marching band practice, and some say it's just as tough as football. It meant the chance to avenge a loss.
To be a part of history, I love it.
For Aries Merritt, it was making the Olympics, a gold medal, and a world record in the 110-meter hurdles all in the same year. How was your 2012?
Go there and smell the track and be in that stadium and see that environment, and it's just such a beautiful thing to see, and I'm so blessed to be able to see it.
As for today, it's back to work for this world-class athlete. He's training at Texas A&M for the World Championships next August. That's a lot of early morning hurdles over the next 8 months.
I may complain, and I may not like doing it, but you know, it's easy for me to wake up and to go to do something that I love doing.
Now, it can be a bit monotonous running through the white lines day in and day out, but it's the motivations of Aries that keep him going. Those motivations go back to 2008, when the loss of his grandmother was compounded by missing the Beijing Olympics by just one spot.
You question if you want to keep running track. Do I really want to keep doing this another 4 years? Because you just never know. Nothing's ever promised. And so I just wanted to, I had to reevaluate my life. I thought about it, and my grandmother would have loved for me to continue to follow my dream, and she knew I loved to run, and so I just stayed running.
And with 2013 on the horizon, Aries has one major goal:
become legendary in my event. I just need to run sub-13 4 more times, and then I would be the person who's run the most sub-13s in the entire world.
He can run those under 13-second hurdles well into the new year, because he's already cleared the hurdles life threw at him early on.
Everything is a challenge, and you have to be able to live up to those challenges. You have to be able to just breathe and focus on what you want.
In College Station, Lane Fobbs, ABC 40 Sports. Well, in 2012, Texas A&M football answered many of the questions people had about them going into this season. But there's still a big one that's unanswered. Who will be their next offensive coordinator? The old one, Cliff Kingsbury, is back at his alma mater, Texas Tech, as their head coach. A&M coach Kevin Sumlin wants a perfect fit for his next OC, but with the Cotton Bowl approaching, finding him will just have to wait.
We're not in a hurry to hire another coach. We're not going to change what we're doing before January 4th. So, you know, anybody that we brought in here from the outside would have to learn what we're doing, not us learn what they're doing by January 4th. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Coach Kevin Sumlin and Johnny Manziel may have one less OU defender to worry about in the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma defensive tackle Stacey McGee was arrested Christmas Eve for DUI and driving with a suspended license. McGee had already been dismissed from the team earlier this year for 6 games and may be headed back to the suspension list after this latest mistake. He's the 3rd player on the Oklahoma team to be arrested since the end of the regular season. OU coach Bob Stoops hasn't given the status of McGee or those other players for the bowl game. Well, for the 2nd straight year, it all comes down to the final game of the season for the playoff hopes of the Dallas Cowboys. It's real simple. Win over RG3 and the Redskins, and the Cowboys are in the postseason. But to beat Washington, Dallas will have to stop beating themselves. They committed 3 turnovers when these teams met on Thanksgiving, and that's something you don't have to remind Cowboys coach Jason Garrett of.
Not only did we turn the ball over, but they cashed in on the turnovers. And before you know it, they made a couple big plays in that 2nd quarter and really extended the lead on us. And we just had to battle back, and we'll keep trying to do that this week when we play them. And certainly we'd like to get off to a better start, but I thought our team did a good job coming back after we were down in that hole last time we played them.
Well, the Cowboys are America's team, but the Houston Texans have some of America's favorite players. They're sending a franchise record 8 guys to the Pro Bowl this year. And it's quite a list led by J.J. Watt, who is closing in on the NFL's all-time sack record, and wide receiver Andre Johnson, who already has 100 catches this year. Good group to be a part of. These guys have Houston sitting pretty with the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs, and the team's 8 Pro Bowlers are second in the NFL, only to San Francisco, who have 9. And if you're keeping score at home, the Cowboys have 2 Pro Bowlers, tight end Jason Witten and defensive end DeMarcus Ware. Well, after drubbing Chicago last night, the Rockets traveled to Minneapolis, hoping for the same result against the Wolves. Former Maverick J.J. Barea had other ideas, though. There he is with the long 3 to beat the shot clock. And it's Dynamite J.J. again, this time nice spin and layup by Barea. He had 18 points off the bench, but Houston picked up James Harden in the offseason for games like these. There's the tough layup in the lane as the Rockets take this one 87-84. Houston has now won 5 straight games. And that is a look at your sports. Bruce? The A&M paintball team can say it.
Guns are firing, there's paintballs flying all over the place.
And spray it. After all, they're the #1 team in the Collegiate Paintball Association.
That's what hooks you. You know, you can't go more than a couple weeks without playing before you're like, man, I want to play some paintball again.
So how did this team get to be captains of the color? Well, for one thing, if you're going to shoot the spectrum, you better be ready to get splashed yourself. But for these guys, the chance to get pumped up in the name of paint makes it all worth it.
As soon as you hear go off break, you just hear gun after gun after gun. It's just the whole intensity of the paint flying at you, where you're going to move to, and all of the communication determined to win.
So after hearing this, I definitely had to try it myself. All right, I got to admit that was pretty fun. But it's more than just adrenaline that'll help you win in this game. It's also about teamwork, like any other sport. And that's what's catapulted A&M paintball to its current top spot.
We don't have to have somebody on the outside of the field telling us where everybody is. Everybody, they see one guy, they tell the guy next to him, and he relays it down to everybody else on the field. And that communication is what sets us above everybody else, I think.
Knowing your teammates really makes a difference. You can have less skill, but play better together and win over teams that have more skill.
And being the #1 team in the nation involves keeping that intensity, but also never forgetting. You're playing with paint.
You know, as a kid, you play Army, you run around in the woods, and paintball is just the next level. You get to actually shoot people with balls of paint, and it's hilarious if you think about it.
In College Station, Lane Fobbs, News Channel 25 Sports.